The Weekly, hosted by the editors of Pro Builder and Pro Remodeler, starts now.
Welcome to this week's edition of The Weekly. This is your spot every Thursday where you can keep up with the latest trends and innovations in our marketplace. So I was reading all the news last week and I'm thinking, my goodness, our industry is really doing well. A couple metrics: the builder confidence number, 83. Anything above 50 is really, really good. 83, the highest in 35 years. Home improvement, going through the roof. Home Depots and Lowe's, you look at what's going on with their businesses. You look at remodeling firms that focus in that area, and it's going crazy. So I'm thinking, you want to know something? This is our reality. Yeah, things might start changing a little bit when COVID leaves us. COVID is going to leave us, isn't it? But a lot of things that we're seeing right now, this is it. This is where we are, and this is where we're going. So we really want to make sure we're keeping you up to date with some of the changes we're seeing, and you'll see a couple of those in our segment today. So let's get to our first segment. In our first segment, we cover something that is called Quality Matters. And professional builder, we love this topic. And we work with a company called Ibicus out of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is another one of my favorite cities. If you go there, Primanti Brothers, incredible sandwich. Do not miss that. But back to the topic. So Tim Camper from Ibicus talks to us about a phenomenon called Truss Uplift. What is it?
As we all know, lumber coming from the manufacturers, it's wet. They typically send it out at the highest percentage that they can get away with. So when it hits the job sites, everything gets framed in, it's still fairly wet. So as things dry out, things start to move. Truss uplift can occur as it dries out. And then once the home overall is drywalled and becomes habitable, the overall truss factor, from what was written in the article, happens. So the bottom core of the trusses, actually, since it's closer to the inside conditioned space, has a chance to dry out even more, since it has that conditioned air closer to it. Whereas in the actual attic itself, the top chords have a higher humidity exposed to it, and they can swell quicker than what the bottom chord does, which creates extra stresses, extra strains in the overall assembly, causing that bottom chord to begin to either lift or fall should things dry out.
In our middle segment today, we're going to address something that's called naming conventions. And I swear I did not know that word before this year. But 4 of our editorial staff get together to discuss how the names in our industry are going to change, including one that's called a master bedroom. Why is it called that? And could Sears catalog have anything to do with that?
I actually looked up the first time in known history that the word was used. I don't know if any of you did this, but apparently it was like in a Sears catalog in like 1928 is when it was coined.
Really?
Yeah. And so 1928 was like well after, the end of slavery in this country. But I still think that it carries that. It's freighted. The word is freighted in a particular way. And so I find it really interesting that I don't believe that whoever coined the term, they did it just to sell houses and make whoever was looking at the house feel super important, is my guess.
Yeah.
That's how it was invented.
Well, I can just speak for Pro Builder. I think that, in light of the social unrest that we've seen over the last, not just the last few months, but even the last couple of years, I think that, it just seemed like, are we being insensitive? Are we being kind of not hearing what's happening?
You can't change everything because someone says this offends me. And so, but I think back, as we know, we're all writers and editors. And so language is living. And so the words that we used in 1920 are no longer around. There are things we just don't say in public, or in private. 100 years ago on the news, people were smoking. They called women broads and dames. And I mean, the language used back then, and I read some things and I can't believe they did this. And today, back then it's perfectly normal. Today, it's, if you were to get caught saying a lot of those words, you'd be hung out to dry very publicly.
We finish up this week's segments at looking at a conference that Professional Remodeler is putting on called the Extreme Sales Summit. And why is it important? Because it's so hard to get together in person. But it's so important that you're keeping up to date with all the changes and how you continue to move your business forward. How does it work when nobody can really get together in person? Will it work?
As we started planning and figuring out how this was going to work online, we actually discovered that we have an opportunity here to not only still provide the same high-level content and speakers that you've come to expect from us, but also that we can do a little bit. First and foremost, we're able to provide more content. We're able to have over 15 speakers this year, 3 panels, and also a host of facilitators that are going to run our roundtables. In the same way that we're able to have more speakers, we're also able to have more attendance. We're able to send invites to people and remodelers who otherwise wouldn't have had the time or the money to attend. And with that in mind, they wouldn't have been able to attend in such large numbers. You can have your entire sales team view ESS this year, and they never have to actually leave the office. But our big innovation this year, and something that we were able to do, not because of coronavirus, but I like to think in spite of coronavirus, is provide a more customizable event. And we're doing that through content tracks and our roundtables.
So that ends our segments for today. We thank you very much for joining us. If you miss any of our segments, here are our addresses. We're on Horizon TV and on YouTube. Obviously, you can see next week's episode, but anything you want to stream from the past, you can check out there. And if you want to talk to me, send me an email about anything you'd like to see on the show. Here's my email address. Before we leave, a trivia question. That flag, get a lot of questions about it. Any guesses? I'll give you 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Not Swedish, not Denmark, not Austrian, not any of those things. That is the flag of England. So you can probably win a couple dollars on that bet. So we'll be back next Thursday with 3 new segments. Very much look forward to it. Have a great week. Please be safe. And we look forward to seeing you again. Thanks for joining us.